All right, so I'm gonna fall back, okay? Have you got me?
Yep, I got you. I promise, I promise.
Oh, hey, what's going on?
Hey guys, what's up? Matt here, and today we are going to go over how to build trust with your prospects. Trust is something that is earned and not given. There are a few steps that we need to take in order to make sure that our prospects trust us and that we can put them into an environment where we have predictability within our sales process. There are a few things that you can do within a sale that will help you in terms of building trust, and there are a few absolute killers that can sort of really remove that trust factor and make it very, very difficult for you to actually get the required outcome at the end. If you do like the content, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, keep it. Here are my tips that you will need in order to help yourself build trust, okay? So tip number one is all about actually listening to your prospects. A lot of salespeople listen to their prospects, but not a lot of salespeople really listen to their prospects, okay? Like I listen to a lot of sales calls, both from my own people and from people who I coach and stuff like that, right? When I'm evaluating people who want to work for us, all that kind of stuff, like we listen to their sales calls. And I can always tell if somebody's actually listening. There's a big difference between actually listening and, just sort of taking them through a process where it kind of seems like you're listening. Prospects will give you everything that you require in order to make the sale, okay? And so all we need to do is be able to listen for key things that they're gonna give us, and that will allow us to do a lot of things, including ask key questions and really kind of like dive in deep on the actual process and the things that they're giving you. One of the worst things you can do is just make it seem like you're just trying to punch somebody down through a script, right? Which is what I hear a lot of the time when I'm listening to sales calls. I can tell they're not truly listening to the prospect. All they're doing is kind of like waiting for an opportunity to ask their next question, or what's even worse is waiting for an opportunity to just slap them in the face with your solution. One of the keys is actually listening to your prospect and being able to guide them in a way that seems unscripted, even though you have control over the process, okay? So tip number one is actually listening in depth to your prospect. Now, tip number two is kind of stacking onto that, which is having genuine curiosity. Actual curiosity is key, not like faked curiosity, okay? Where you're just like, oh, okay, that's very interesting. It's like, no. Genuine, real life curiosity. It will give you a totally different tone, okay? And it will allow you to actually, when you are listening and you have real curiosity, to really kind of like go down little rabbit holes that become incredibly important towards the end, and also potentially avoid the rabbit holes that aren't very fruitful. There are a couple things that can stack on with that, right? The first is like making assumptions about a prospect. So I don't read like lead reports or like applications, like whatever it is you want to call them. I generally try not to read them before a sales call. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first is that like it can give me a false assumption about the prospect. I don't like going into a conversation with an assumption. It's pretty much impossible not to if you're getting a report saying this person doesn't make this, like let's say you're getting a report, they only make a couple of grand a month, okay? And I'm trying to sell them an expensive program. Like that doesn't actually tell the story because it's a very specific question. How much money do you make per month? It doesn't say how much money do you have. It doesn't say, have you recently won lottery? It doesn't say, do you have access to, over $50,000, whatever, right? People will answer questions specifically and especially in how they interpret them. I want to have the opportunity to be able to ask the question so I don't have to interpret it. And then if I do have a question, I can ask about it. And if I have like a lead report, then I'm going to read it through and I'm going to make some levels of assumption. Then I might change the way that I sell based off like my false assumption, which is a really bad trap to get into. It's like a lot of the reason why people don't sign referrals is not because those leads aren't strong. It's because they're making an assumption that this person is a guaranteed sale. So they don't take them through the process, right? And I always take everybody through the process. That's why having genuine curiosity and doing some steps where you can have genuine curiosity is key, because your questions will come across so much better that the person will just be more engaged. They'll like the conversation more, and they're going to be more willing to kind of go into depth with you which again helps you to build trust. Stacking onto that, step number 3 is asking targeted questions. You're not going to be able to ask targeted questions unless you're listening to the prospect, and you're probably not going to get really good answers to those targeted questions unless you have genuine curiosity. Okay, so it's kind of like stacking a bundle together. All right, so I can usually tell within about 5 minutes of a sales call as to whether I think someone's going to make that sale. Just simply because of like, there are some key things that are usually missed, right? And those things need to then be asked about. And if they're not asked about early, it makes it very difficult. And I can even usually predict the objection that someone's going to get. And that's because they're not asking targeted questions. They're not listening. They don't have genuine curiosity and all that kind of stuff. These are all things that we need in order to build trust within a prospect. It's part of a process and we have to do all these things. Doesn't mean that we won't get a sale if we don't do them, but it means that we're not putting ourselves in the best opportunity to be able to get the sale on the highest percentage of times. Rolling into number 4 is give and you shall get. All right. One of the things that I hate is when people are like, buyers are liars. It's like, if you go into a sales interaction thinking that buyers are liars, then like, why should they go into the call thinking that salespeople aren't liars, right? More often, salespeople are liars compared to prospects. I think that you have to have the ability to come in without preconceived notions, without this sort of like baggage on your back of the previous calls that you've had, because it's a different person, it's a different interaction. You may have had a lot of these interactions, but that other person probably has not, to be fair, okay? So we can't put all of our previous experience on that person. Now, that doesn't mean that we, like at the first moment of like, I need to think about it, we just sort of stop it there, right? Like we keep going through our process, but it means like we cannot go into a sales call or a sales interaction with the background of like, this person's going to lie to me. If you don't trust them, they won't trust you. And so it doesn't mean that you don't dig and probe and clarify and all that kind of good stuff, but you do have to have some level of like, I will give you trust and you need to give it first. Just like vulnerability. You give vulnerability first and you get it back. These things are earned and not given. And I think sometimes as salespeople, we assume that these people should just talk to us like we're their best friend without really giving them any reason to. Part of my sales process and part of when I teach people and when we do sales for ourselves, because we do sales for lots and lots and lots of different companies, we do around $250,000 a day in sales. It's about taking our prospects through a process where we are genuinely listening to them. We really want the best for them. We only sell stuff that we really believe is good and beneficial, because otherwise, like, it's very hard to sell shit programs, and I don't really want anything to do with it. In order to be trusted, you first have to trust. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope that kind of helps you guide a prospect through and how to get trust. If somebody trusts you, then it's a lot easier to get them to buy off you. So if you did find this content useful, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you go to our Facebook group. We go live like 6 to 7 days a week. There's a bunch of free content. If you do as well, want to head to our website, go to the free resources page. There's a whole bunch of free stuff there for you. We also have a $50 a week Aussie dollar dues program where you can be coached pretty much every single day. And there's a big portal, that kind of stuff. So we'll link all that stuff in the description below, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.